Well, good evening, Susan and Paul. Welcome to my basement,
Looking good.
which I have spent most of the last year down here. Well, of course, I go up and sleep in my bed, but down here is where all the magic happens when there's not a couple of bulldogs running around and making a great deal of noise, which you guys can attest to because you have children and mine are like toddlers.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I have hair in my mouth. This is real pro.
It's a toddler.
I also have
it's probably dog hair.
I have braces that nobody knows about because no one sees me. So it's like the best time to have, work done on your, I guess I should get plastic surgery now too, so no one would know.
Totally.
Because I don't see anybody. So you two both of you have been playing music and writing music and performing music for a really long time.
Yes.
But you came together as Honest Mechanic. How?
Yes. I mean, Susan, I feel like you're good at starting this off.
Well, so Paul and I were on a show. We figured out we were on a show together at Johnny D's 1,000 years ago. And then I think is when we first met.
Yep.
But then I don't know, I feel like we were at the Lizard Lounge or something. And I saw the Grownup Noise and we were talking afterwards and I was like, hey, we should co-write. And Paul was like, I have never co-written with anyone ever.
Really?
I guess like early, like more like kind of bad. My friends aren't going to watch, my high school friends aren't going to watch this, like bad high school bands. Sure. We were writing together.
Now I'm going to tell them.
Yeah, I'll text them. Yeah. But and then so a little bit, and then I was in a bunch of weird experimental bands. So I guess we were writing together, but not songs. And also, I went to school for guitar. I went to school for jazz guitar. So I didn't go into music as like a songwriter. That wasn't my end. That wasn't my end plan. So, and then when I did, I just got so protective of it. I was like, oh, this is fun. And then Susan is just has such a different experience as a longtime collaborator. It was frightening, but like exciting.
But in a really good way.
Well, it's funny. We said this the other day that I was like a little bit afraid of you. I feel like you were intimidating. And then you said you thought I was intimidating.
Yes. Are you kidding? Yeah. Fabulous guitarist. And
who cares about?
No, because fabulousness. So he comes over with this, he's like, I don't know, I'm just like fooling around with this little thing. And he plays me this chorus. And immediately I'm like, oh my God. It was like discovering like this beautiful secret. I'm like, don't tell anyone but me. And so we wrote our first song, and it was incredibly easy, incredibly fluid, incredibly fun. Like we're really kind of like trading off lines and melodies. And it was a song that had like these two vocals going on at the same time. Mm-hmm. And it's a song about like men and women being out of sync with each other. And so literally we had like the male dialogue and the woman's dialogue out of sync and then in sync and then out of sync during the song. And that was our first song together. And Paul's like, yeah, that was really fun. You want to do it again? And I was like, sure.
So this is sort of the precursor to what became this duo, right?
Yeah.
Yes. There was no like plan. There was no like plan that we're going to be a thing.
Okay.
No. Like right. So we would write this thing, and then I feel like sometimes like a month or two would go by, and we'd get busy with life, and then I feel like both of us had the same response where it's like we'd wake up. I'd wake up with like the melody of us in our head, and I would like text Susan and be like, "Yo, that song is back in my head," and then some time would go by, and Susan would be like, yo, that song is fucking good. Like, so then, yeah, it's just, you know what I mean? It kind of, the music kind of just stayed glommed onto us.
Yeah.
In a great way that kind of pushed us to be like, hey, why don't you
do it again? Yes. And so like time went by, we wrote 10 songs. We just wrote 10 songs. And literally Paul at one point turned to me, he's like, are we a band? Like, is this a thing?
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah. Hell yeah, it is a thing. Why is it not a thing? And so it was the Somerville Porch Fest. So Paul's like, hey, I'm doing a set at the Somerville Porch Fest. Why don't you come by and we could we could try some of these tunes. And I was like, okay. So we did that. And then I had an opener at Passim. And I was like, instead of just me, I called and I said, could I bring my friend Paul, and we have this duo that we're doing, I think, I don't know. And so we, at that point, we didn't even have a name yet.
That's right. We didn't.
So we're like in the green room at Club Passim, and Paul's like, I think I came up with a name. And I was like, what is it? And he said,
Black Sabbath.
Black Sabbath. And we're like, darn, that was taken.
Yeah.
But Honest Mechanic with a K.
Yeah.
Was not taken. And Paul was like, yeah, because, they're rare and you'd go a long distance to find one. So I'm like, well, that's a cool, yeah. So we're Honest Mechanic.
Very thoughtful, Paul. You're very thoughtful anyway, but that's very thoughtful in this process.
Well,
so let me back up a little bit. When I hear about how you were at Porch Fest, you were at Passim and Lizard Lounge, we're going back to like pre-COVID.
Yeah. Like what, 2018, 2019? Like,
it
was a while ago. That Passim show was Susan. I feel like that helped solidify us, because I remember getting off that show and just feeling like, ooh, I feel comfortable with you on stage.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like with the banter and everything was smooth. It was like, that was nice. We got that show before the shit went down, because it's nice to be like, ooh, like that like we definitely like groove together on stage, which is a whole different thing than writing.
Yeah.
Right. Like
that we had not explored.
No. And that's just so different. Like that whole process is so different.
So you were born at Passim.
Yeah.
You remember when that was? Was that, are we talking 2019 that this was official, that you were official in a band relationship?
I think it was 2018. Maybe.
Okay.
Or maybe, no, actually.
No, I don't know.
It might, I feel like it was 2019, but I could be wrong.
Mm-hmm. So each of you have so much of your own things going on. You're both writers, you're both performers, you're both educators. So how have you been able to, I guess I should rephrase this question. What have you learned from each other?
I feel like we've both learned about like not giving up. I don't know. Not that like Susan, you were going to give up, but I feel like I mentioned this to you, Anngelle, last time that you were nice enough to have me on when I released that like kind of lonely album. That was really lonely to see your band that was charging along just kind of go roop, roop, roop. I mean, still inspired. I feel like I was still inspired artistically, but in an outer sense, it kind of went down, 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 down. So just, I don't know, just feeling excited again about the collaborative process, about just possibilities, like stepping away from, you can easily go like the jaded route. And that's not even the right word, not jaded, but it's just easy to say, oh, okay, well, I had my shot. But it's like, no, fuck that. We like, here's another one. And I'm still excited about the Grownup Noise and whatever that can morph into. But I feel like, especially with the depression of the pandemic and everything, I feel like this has been like just a charge of life. So thank you, Susan. I'm serious.
But I feel the same way.
It's dark around here.
I've done a lot of collaboration with a lot of different people, and sometimes it's hard and sometimes it's smooth. And this project for me, I have to say, was so incredibly joyful. Like, it's so much fun. It's fun. And I think that there's this, I don't know, like I'll say this because it's true. We did our photo shoot in long black coats and pajama bottoms. I mean, like, this is something I would never.
Sign of the times.
I would
sign of the times.
Like, it would have, I think that the thing that I've learned from Paul is the fact that, I don't know, that one can be relaxed. I mean, I think I'm more relaxed certainly than I was at the beginning of my career, but this project I just feel really comfortable. And I think it shows in our recordings. Like, I really think that joy and ease of like singing and hanging out and making music for me at least, was just, it's just super, it's easy and fun, as music should be.
That makes me so happy too, because on my end, I'm like, she's collaborating with so many amazing people all the time, and I'm like, she chose me, y'all. Like we're at the songwriter dance, and and like Susan Cattaneo is like, you know what I mean? Just I feel like you could start a band with 100 different people in this town, Susan.
Oh, thanks.
So thank you for pulling me out of the ditch.
He's so good. And the way that we write, like Paul will come in with something, and then we kind of talk about like what it means. And what is great about it is that, I'll make a suggestion and he'll be like, okay, let's do that. And then he'll make a suggestion and I'll be like, okay, let's do that. And it really is this, I feel like I'm talking about improv comedy, but it really is
that's exactly what I was thinking.
And
start with yes. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
what I was thinking.
It's true. I mean, I think that all good things flow when that is happening in the creative process. Yeah. So pretty cool.
So here you are, it sounds like you're more than 2 years into this new creative relationship. What's next? Because I mean, we will return to a new kind of normal, and I hate to sound so trite about how I talk about what the post-COVID world is, but it's not going to be what it was.
Right.
It is going to be very different. And I'm very hopeful that we're going to have many of the venues that we had, minus a couple. But then what always happens in around Boston is when one goes away, eventually another thing crops up somewhere. And let's face it, there's a lot of commercial retail space that's going to be available. So if anybody is interested in opening a venue, let me know.
I mean, that'd be amazing. Yeah.
I'm only half joking.
Yeah.
But we will have venues again. So what do you hope will come from that? Will you tour? Are you in a position where you think you might want to do that after all of the experiences that you've had as musicians up until now?
I mean, I feel like we've talked about this a little, Susan. Like I would love to.
Yeah.
And whether it's like find a way to perform deliver our sound as the two of us, and then also obviously with Marco, that would be amazing. But then
we should talk about Marco too.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think we've talked about like, are we, is the, Susan Cattaneo and the Big Loud Band, are they in sync with what the Grownup Noise is doing? And could we do like a three thing where Honest Mechanik is the middle or the end, I think I'm open to everything. I mean, I'm open to everything. I just am very excited to see what happens. I mean, for us, it was just, we had those two experiences and I'm like,
I know.
What?
And then also, how about recording lead vocals before shit went down too?
Oh my God.
Like that was like just to get those vocals in, and then we could work on small parts separately. But that was huge, right? That would have been hard to just to because we could at least sing together, which was also very intimidating as like a not a singer person, like staring at Susan Cattaneo and being like, okay, you got to nail your like harmony with her, like, ugh. But we did that in the studio, and then that felt very comfortable, very fast. But again, all very new for me. Like, but I'm just glad we got to do that. But because otherwise, it all would have had to have been, separate now.
Yeah. Well, and the weird thing about this, so, we had recorded our vocals and Paul's guitar, and that was it. And I was like, this is awesome. It's done.
Right.
And we're like, well, maybe it isn't done. Maybe we need to kind of like challenge what that sound is, because maybe it could be more than this. And so I had worked with the incomparable, amazing, magnificent Marco Giovino on my album Haunted Heart. And I was like, what if we brought in Marco? And Paul had never met Marco. Paul didn't know Marco from anybody.
Also, like I know he's like a motherfucker, probably one of the biggest, if not the biggest motherfucker in town. But as I was saying to them, and it was nice to even say this to Marco, like coming from the DIY world of I was like studio musician. This they can sometimes they can mess it up, like in my own bringing my own bullshit to the situation. Susan, I remember even making a joke. but we didn't know each other too well. Like he had recorded his first tracks, and I text Susan. I was like, I gotta say, like, I'm just not like feeling this, and like, and I could feel Susan being like, what? And then I was like, just joking, and you were like, you little shit, like, because I don't think we weren't there yet as friends, and I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna get her because I mean, yes, I was worried, but then when I heard what Marco came back with, I was like, okay, that's thick, that's nice.
Yeah. And so and the weird thing is that to launch the name, we did this fun thing on Facebook, and it was the first time that Marco had met Paul. Was on Zoom, on a Zoom call like this. Like they'd never seen each other. Yeah. And the album was already recorded. I mean, so bizarre.
But at least you were there with him when he was doing the tracking. I might have brought some weird crap to that situation. So it was nice to just have you work with them, and then I got the tracks and I got to sit with them. So that was nice. I mean, it would have been amazing in person, but just like watching him on Zoom, and I don't know. Yeah. So thank you for doing that.
Where did you record?
We did it at Dimension Sound with Dan Cardinal, who was amazing, by the way.
Always, and crushes every style he's ever done. Like, he's amazing.
He's so good, and he's so relaxed. That's another thing, like super relaxed, so that the vocals, you know, he doesn't, we do probably 3 takes of every song, and that's it. That's it. So, you know, it's like,
and you're okay with that, Paul Hansen? You feel good about that?
I mean, I was like, yeah, I can get away with 3 takes. But again, like, my adrenaline is up. I'm like, you got to nail this. You're not like in your basement. You got to nail this here. Vocally, you know, I'm like on guitar, I don't have to think, but there's no like issue. But as a singer, I'm still like, you know, I don't know. But yeah, Dan is amazing. And also great for like a third opinion too, right, Susan? Like, I feel like he was good at dropping in like some opinions too along the way.
Definitely. And sorry.
No, go ahead. I was just thinking about, I know that you're working on another release. There's another song to come. Yes.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like, we have probably, well, it depends. It depends. Like, we were thinking that we would do probably 4 singles for the 10 album release, which will be in July. Okay. That'll be the full release at that point. So yes, I think we've released 2, and I think we're going to do 2, maybe 3 more. And so, yeah, so that's, I think, the plan.
Yes. That's the plan. That's right. I feel like that's the plan. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then hopefully, whether it's this summer or the fall or even later, have a release show, and then also just start playing more shows. Yeah. It'll be, you know, like that'll be awesome.
Have each of you had your vaccinations, or are you in the process of?
I'm pre-registered.
Me too.
But not yet.
Yeah.
So I'm my mom's primary caretaker. So I got mine, and I just had my second one and was extremely sick.
Wow. I do hear that that's happening to people.
Yeah.
I mean, like, to the point where, like, the first night I was like, oh my God, my skin hurts. I was like, take off the skin. I don't need the skin. It was really, and then I had 102 fever for a day, but then was fine. So yeah, just about 24 hours of misery, and that's another band name. There we go. 24 hours of misery.
Sounds like a record to me.
Well, that's awesome, Susan, that you're vaccinated. That's crazy. That's excellent.
Yeah, I'm on the list. I mean, the way I look at it is, I, like many of us, have been, I've worked from home for a number of years before this started. So my life didn't change drastically when we had to hunker down and stay in. You know, obviously I was concerned about a lot of things, but I had been kind of used to being at home a lot. And you do learn a lot about your significant other when you're home 24/7. Like, you hold your fork like that? How did I not notice that? But I'm okay to wait. I don't need to push anybody out of the way. Let everybody who needs to get it.
Yeah, same here.
I'm staying safe. Knock on everything. I'm not going out anywhere. I see a small, circle of people. Let everybody who needs it get it. And, it's just a matter of time before our number comes up, right?
Right.
I'm on the, I
Yeah.
get my, weekly text updates. Like, you're still on the list. Here's your number and we'll let you know. I'm okay.
Right. It's nice to get just a text to be like, yeah, that you're, they know you're there.
Yeah. Yeah. And, I think that we're lucky. I mean, I always say this, we live in one of the greatest places in America because we're surrounded by, such beauty and such, knowledge, because we have all these hospitals and all of these, healthcare providers around us. So I'm okay. And I know there are a lot of people, even, in the western part of the state that are like, I don't even know where to go to get it.
Yeah.
So lucky us.
I know.
Fortunately. How have you been dealing with said quarantining? We're kind of on the tail end of it, but how have you spent your time?
Well, I mean, honestly, like I'm actually, I've been writing a solo album.
Nice.
That I'll release. It's really, it's called All Is Quiet.
Mhm.
It is about feeling creatively muted during this time. And I recorded it. It's an acoustic album. And I only recorded it with Kevin Berry and Duke Levine, the three of us, and that's it. There's no one else on it. And
Mhm.
so
Are you finished with it?
We're at mixing now. So
Wow.
we're
Nice.
mixing it. And it's been interesting because vocally, I definitely have felt I've been sitting in a chair for years, singing into my little microphone. And
I got a drum throne.
Right. Oh, I had to like kind of accept
padded,
that my voice is what it is during this time and so I'm like, I'm not changing it. It is what it is. So I've been doing that. And then of course this Honest Mechanic thing, which I'm so excited about. We've been making videos and
cool. That's fun, right?
Super fun.
Wait,
yes.
Susan, do you feel like I feel this way, especially recently but also there were like a month went by where I literally didn't sing. I don't know why. But do you feel like I feel like I've lost vocal power, but maybe that'll come back once like just singing more, performing more, the adrenaline and the muscle you have to get for performing.
Mhm.
I feel like I'm going to have to get like performance and vocal chops back. Is that what you mean? Like you feel different vocally?
100%. Like
Weird.
going into the studio was like, normally I'm able to sing with forever. I don't have a problem with singing for a long time. It doesn't affect my voice. It doesn't affect the tone or the timbre of my voice. And in the studio, doing it during this pandemic, which has been weird, is that, probably after about 2 hours, I feel like there's like a little sound, a vocal fray in my voice, which I'm like, okay, I'm embracing that. That's who I am right now. It's okay. It'll come back. Whatever it'll be, it'll come back. I don't know.
It actually sounds like, and I certainly haven't heard it to be able to support this theory, but it's gonna be an interesting sort of representation of you in this time in your life.
Exactly.
Exactly. It's gonna capture that, and then what comes out of you guys next will be certainly very different because we'll be in a different place mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, like all of those things that we're dealing with.
Yeah, definitely. Paul, what have you been doing in this pandemic?
I mean,
Poor thing.
It's been brutal just because the kids have been home. Although, of course, when they just started going back, and now I'm like, now I'm missing teaching Guthrie, even though she's impossible to teach. And she's funny and it's hilarious, but it's like, and I was just getting a flow of like, okay, this is how she learns and this is how we're going to structure our afternoon. And then she's gone. But the whole time I'm craving time to myself. So now I have a little bit of time to myself and it's like, what happened? But but for the previous year, like, holy shit, just with the kids all day and then teaching all night, and then wine, brutal.
Mm-hmm. And you weren't planning on, I don't think any parent, except for people who are nuts enough to like do homeschooling on purpose. Ooh. I don't think any parent ever was prepared to or signed up for that, and we don't even, I mean, quite frankly, they teach kids differently than they taught us. So what was that like? I mean, did you have to learn how to teach them so she would learn.
I mean, yeah. The whole process is fascinating, and also just trying to understand like Common Core math.
Yeah.
Which like we're like, oh, that doesn't, it's like if you don't know anything about it, we're supposed to hate it. And then watching Gray do it, I'm like, oh, Common Core math with like the blocking out of the tens and the hundreds position and the ones. I'm like, this kind of makes sense. So I'm like, oh, Common Core math in particular, like is kind of interesting. But that was kind of fun in a messed up way to work with him and see him work, because I was so bad at all things math.
Yeah.
So it's kind of fun. He seems to be good at math. And then the Guthrie with the words thing. Like I was like, I don't even know when we first started, I was like, I don't even know what is in your Google Classroom. Let's come sit with a book. Like I did Frog and Toad when I was a kid. We'll go real slowly through Frog and Toad. And I'm like trying to do it. And then it's like, and then I realized, oh yeah, I don't know how to do this. I'm not a grammar school teacher, but because they do like sight words.
Yeah.
So they literally just memorize like 5 words and then 5 more. I'm like, what the? And then all of a sudden they're reading, and like, so I screwed up a lot, thinking like, here I am like a grown adult. Like I was a late bloomer. I was good at school later on. Like, let's try it my way. And we did a bunch of random things. I would show him videos. I'd read him poems. I was kind of like, we'll do what the school is asking too. But I was like, okay, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to kind of tell you about this thing that I know about history. And we're going to read you poems and stuff. And I mean, it's some of it connected, but also, yeah, this is not what I teach. So it was humbling, but also kind of fun.
How did they respond to it? How did they respond to your teaching? Did they comment about how you may have differed from their own teachers or something?
No, I mean, well, they don't even know, you know what I mean? Because they were both kind of, well, Guthrie was like going into kindergarten, so she didn't even really, and like, so actually her preschool, she had a very short preschool time too. So she didn't even really, she was a wildling, like she still is, but like, so she didn't even know what school was like. And then, yeah, Gray, I mean, I would love to know what Gray like thinks of me, like in comparison, but it was still fun though. It's still fun to think of like, to just be like, what's important to you? What would you like to communicate? And of course I'm doing just way unnecessary philosophy stuff, because that's what I was a late bloomer. I did philosophy in college before Berkeley. So I'm like, let's talk about this concept. And, sometimes kids are amazing. Sometimes they like run with it. And then sometimes they're just like, let's watch Bubble Guppies, or I don't know, you know what I mean? Like it's not, you don't know when that door is going to be open, but so I was just kind of waiting for the door to open and then walk through. But I can see how some people would get into homeschooling, because you can like have all the control, you know what I mean? Like I'm like, we're going to listen to this music and talk about this. We're going to watch James Brown live videos for a while. And then we're going to watch Iggy Pop. Then we're going to like, I mean, I literally was like, I was all like fired up at first, because I was like, this is my reality. I might as well embrace it.
Yeah.
But it's so it's good that they're back. Let's just say that let's let the teachers do their thing, because now at least Guthrie is like reading better. Frog and Toad is not necessarily the answer.
When did they go back?
Just like, well, so they were hybrid for a while, but they were just in 2 days, but they just went back full time, like distanced and safely, but they just went back like last week. This is this is the second week.
So you're like, woo, what do I do?
I've had some time to myself. Like I'm taking walks in the woods and
writing songs.
Yeah, well, yeah, trying to write songs. Of course, I was like at first, I'll keep this short. I was like, I'm going to try to be a type A person. And I try to block out my time in 45 minutes. I was like, okay, 45 minutes, I'm going to read this novel I want to read. 45 minutes, I'm going to work on Premiere Pro. 45 minutes, I'm going to try to write a song. 45 minutes, I'm going to send emails. And I held to it for like 3 days. I was like, yes. And then just the type B came out and was like, no. Anyway, I tried, damn it. I tried to be effective with my time. I got to try again though. Maybe not the, anyway, I want to try again. Like, of course, because I did that thinking of all that time I had younger in my life. Like, what the fuck was I doing? Like, so I appreciated that time so much. Now that I have some time to myself back, I want it to be really meaningful. Like, so, I just want it to be meaningful, whether it's organized or not. I'm happy to be alive, and I want to just get as much out of it as I can.
Yeah. And he texted me, should we co-write another song? And I'm like, yes. So we'll make that happen when we can hang out on my porch.
Yes.
Mhm.
Oh yeah, we're
Mhm.
doing second album. I mean, obviously we got to get this album out and like get some shows going, get some traction, but we are
Yeah.
here. Like, yeah, we were in Medford.
We're
We were
in
together.
Medford where
Yes.
all good musical things happen.
Yes.
Mhm. Yeah.
We're proud of our Medfordness too. I
Yes,
think
we are.
that's-
Yes.
that is a moment of pride for us.
No, each of you grew up elsewhere, yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Because you don't say Medford.
No, we
Right.
don't say Medford.
Right. And one more, like the tiny story on the Honest Mechanic thing too. The first inkling I got of it was there was a local Medford mechanic, Pat, and he was awesome. He loved music. He's like, oh, you're a guitar player, and of course he got pushed out of his space and mobile enlarged. It was amazing to have a mechanic that was like right down the street. We're in North Medford. It was right down the street. And anyway, when he left, there was a guy who still worked at the shop and was like, Pat was like honest to like you newbies like me, you know what I mean? And the old school like neighborhood people. I was like, fuck, we had an honest mechanic here and we let him go, guys. Like he was cool to everybody. He didn't have to be cool to me. I mean, yeah, everyone should be cool to everyone, but like he was cool.
Yeah.
Where'd he go?
He doesn't have a place right now. He doesn't have a spot. He's actually doing work. He's actually doing work out of his garage. And then if it's a larger project, he has friends that he can maybe rent a garage, but he actually doesn't have a space. He's actually working out of his own house.
Wow.
Well, I'm sure that if the time ever came where you ran into him again, he would be very inspired by the fact that you sort of named your new band
except for the
him.
fact, except he's definitely more of like metal dude. So he's gonna be like, Paul, man, that's cool. Like, let's get a beer. I'm not going to listen to your album.
Yeah, it's so funny. It's so funny because
okay.
My Honest Mechanic, I'm in West Medford, and my Honest Mechanic is like this family mechanic garage that's down the street, and it's like a dad and two sons. And
so you have an Honest Mechanic too.
I do, and they're awesome. But we did not necessarily vote for the same person, if you know what I mean. And
not going there on that topic.
They're not wearing a mask right now, so I'm not really going there right now.
Yeah.
But same kind of thing, like loves like heavy metal.
Yeah.
Because we've talked about it, and I was like, yeah, you should, I'm playing it in the car. I'm like, this is what I do. Because, he knows me, and he's like, wow, awesome. Do you have anything louder?
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah. Pat wants to do a guitar lesson sometime, and I'll definitely bring my chops to that lesson.
Nice.
Won't be doing folk. Yeah.
Nice.
Oh, it's very cool though. It's very cool. I love what people's perceptions are of what I do. And I'm sure that you guys can probably relate to that. When people find out that I do radio, it's always generally a lot of questions.
What kind of questions?
Anything from, historically, Thanksgiving dinners consisted of, so if I call you tomorrow, will you play John Cougar Mellencamp?
Nice. Nice.
That's awesome. Like, I am going to call you tomorrow. Like,
things like that. And, what I play and who I've met and what are people like and all kinds of things. It's always very entertaining.
And you're like, I choose who I have on my show. It's my show. Like, you're like,
yeah, it's really entertaining. But certainly, we're not going to go down the rabbit hole. But radio has changed so much, even in just the last couple of years, and it's it's disappointing, but it's not inevitable. It wasn't inevitable, and it took a while to get to me. But once it got to me, I was like, yeah, I can see the writing on the wall here. I can see that. Maybe the cycle is going to come around again where the big corporation that owns all the little stations is eventually going to sell off some of the little stations again, and maybe they'll go back to the right hands. There's a handful of companies nationally that own, the majority of the radio stations, but in our area, there are 3 companies that own all of the stations.
Wow. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm kind of surprised there's 3.
Yeah, there's 3 stations here that own all the majors, all the ones that, when you zip across your presets, it's, 3 different companies that own them. And, it gets smaller and smaller because when BCN was around, it was CBS Radio, and BCN and CLX ended up being owned by the same company, CBS Radio. And then CBS Radio sold all the stations off. And that's when this, you know, domino effect of everything really changing even further. But, you know, like you guys, I keep very busy. I'm not bored at all. I mean, I've started to do more stuff since I was able to find time during this when this pandemic hit. I'm like, how am I going to keep my brain from, you know, the brain atrophy, right? When we talk about like the muscles sort of being stagnant, I need to keep my brain sharp. I can't just sit around. I mean, I'm not one that sits around and watches daytime television anyway, because I can't stomach it. Yeah. But I just figured it out. You know, I started writing, and I started, you know, doing a podcast. You know, I still do Boston,
which is awesome, by the way.
Yeah, thank you.
I love it.
Thank you.
And I was thinking like the fact that, you know, the thing that is really interesting, or I guess like my big epiphany, is that creators will create. We will create no matter what. And I don't care. Like, it really is like, I don't care. I like making stuff, and I'm going to make stuff whether we're all shut in or whether we're running around outside. Like, I'm just going to make stuff because I like it.
You're right. Because we have to. We're the kinds of people that even if you write a record and record a record and you have no intention on anybody ever hearing it, it's the process by which you go through.
Yeah.
And you just can't not do it.
Right.
You know? Exactly. You just can't not do it. It's just, I'm that same way. I just decided I've always loved the genre. I've always loved true crime. I've always been interested in it. And I just decided one day, and I can tell you exactly when, I was like, I'm going to do it. It was in last July. I was sitting in a cabin in Maine. It was one rainy day, and I was reading a true crime book. And I was like, this story's so cool. I'm going to do a podcast about this story. And, you know, I'm going to do an episode about this story and see where it goes. And it just grew from there. And that was, I officially launched it in October.
Nice.
And I'm slower than most. I'm not an every week podcast. I don't release every week. I release like every other week. But, you know, people have been really, really, really nice and sending me really nice comments about it. And it feels great. It feels great that, you know, people see it as a quality product. You know, there's a lot of it out there. There's a lot of, thank you. There's a lot of stuff out there. And, you know, I know people do it just because they love to do it. And they're like, you know, I don't really care so much about the audio or whatever. I care about all of it, but I care that people find it palatable, you know?
Yeah. And those, sometimes a case is restarted.
Yeah. Oh,
from a show. That's wow.
There's actually a case right now that a young woman in Northern California who disappeared and has been missing since 1996. And there was a person of interest that they just couldn't pin down. They knew that he was a fellow student, a 20-year-old kid at the time, and she was seen leaving. She was seen with him. He was like, "Oh, I'll walk her home." She was never seen again. Just last week, he and his father were officially arrested.
Oh yeah, I saw
since
that.
1996, due in large part to a podcast called "In Your Own Backyard," sort of reigniting interest in this story.
Wow, amazing.
Mm-hmm. It's dangerous in that, you know, especially when there's a cold case and there's not a whole lot of information. It's dangerous I'm very careful. I haven't officially done a story on a cold case yet because I have to be very careful, because you don't want to disrupt the investigation, or you certainly don't want to be problematic with an investigation. And, you know, that was, you know, effectively a cold case, but there was new interest in it over the last couple of years. But finally they got the guy, and he's in jail. Amazing. And he's going to face trial. He and his dad, the man is 44 now, and his dad is 80, and his dad was arrested for accessory helped him
Wow.
supposedly hide the body.
Oh,
Which I couldn't even fathom that. Like, could you fathom that?
And then
Like
just living your life.
A crime
like
is committed.
With that.
Your kid is implicated, and you haven't raised your child to do the right thing because you're helping him hide what he just did. Like that's unfathomable to me, to understand that there's people in this world that are like, yeah, well, shh.
Right.
It's truly fascinating. Like the whole thing is truly fascinating. And I had no idea what like even the whole like community was like until I like got involved in it. People are really, really nice, and people are really supportive, which I was really surprised, because you think that everybody's like competitive and everyone just wants everybody, there's enough to go around, right? People, there are millions of people listen to podcasts. Who you're hurting by supporting somebody else, right? It's like musicians, right? You make music, other people make music. You can't keep the audience to yourself. You can't be the only people that have the audience, right?
And it's not competitive in the same way, like, and I mean, I love some sports, but it's not competitive in the same way. You're not like getting a number at the end of your race. Like, it's just not the same.
Right.
I mean, I like some sports too. I don't mean to diss on sports, but
I like sports balls.
I like some.
That's what I call sports ball, because it's
balls,
silly. I'm a big Frasier fan, the TV show, and there's this great, because the two Crane brothers, Niles and Frasier, if you're not aware, they're just very particular. They're not sports fans, and their dad is very like blue collar football guy.
Oh,
and,
yeah. I think I haven't seen the show a lot, but that dynamic is
very
bomb.
funny. And one of the famous Niles Crane lines is, I forget the context of it, but he's like, pass me the football ball, like he doesn't even, the football ball, the football ball.
Yeah.
Very funny.
Awesome.
Very funny. I'm such a fan of that show. It's so great. So that said, how are you entertaining yourselves during this whole time? I have watched, true crime, as you know, tons of awesome stuff. When we do settle down to watch stuff, there's been some amazing stuff. What have you really enjoyed that you want to turn me on to?
Oh, Ted Lasso.
Do you watch TV? Oh, see, I haven't even cracked that open yet.
It's awesome. Speaking of balls, yes.
Wait, what is that?
Oh my gosh, it's
Jason
really,
Sudeikis, right?
Yes, and
oh, nice.
I watched it with Dino, and Dino's Italian, so the idea of a television series or a show based on a Southern American coming in to coach an English soccer team is just like, he was like, I do not like the show. I'm not going to like the show. And we loved it. It's really awesome. And it's really heartfelt and sweet and funny. And it might be my favorite discovery of the pandemic.
That's great. Because I feel like I've watched everything, and apparently I have not.
Yeah, that was great.
There's a lot.
But it's on, I don't know what it's on. What is it on? It's on like Amazon Prime, I think, or something. So it's not on Netflix.
Yeah.
But having my daughter at home, we've watched a lot of Grey's Anatomy.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because I'm so passe. I'm going to work on I'll next watch The Good Wife, because I don't know where I've been. And then Breaking Bad, because I haven't watched anything.
Oh, yeah.
But
Breaking Bad. I resisted for a long time on Breaking Bad.
Did you?
Good. Oh yeah. I was just like, I didn't like the look of it. I don't care about meth. I don't like that Arizona.
You don't like meth?
Oh, I care about meth. Damn it.
Well, I don't want to see a show about it, but like, my God. And it's like, they didn't pull any punches, and you still couldn't predict it.
Yeah.
Season after season, it was like, holy. Yeah, I resisted for a long time. I was just one of those like, no, I didn't watch it while it was happening in real time. I was like, no.
No, that's understandable, because I get a little rebellious like that sometimes when everybody's watching something.
Yeah.
I'm not. I felt that way. I still feel that way to this day about that show Tiger King that everybody watched on Netflix. It came out it hit right at the right time where everybody was home, and people were like, this is ridiculous. It's like a car crash that I can't stop looking at. And I'm like, Yeah, I know it's based on crime and murder, which is, up my alley, but the animal stuff, I just can't. I can't get into something that portrays any kind of animal abuse whatsoever, even in that setting. I'm just like, no, we can't do it. Nope. I draw the line.
That's your line. Yeah.
Yeah. What
There was
about you?
What about you, Paul? Did you watch any television, or were you just with your children and teaching?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Like if I watch something, it's like 10 o'clock. I'm like, okay, Beth, what do you want to watch? And she's like, no, but on the weekend, like we've gotten Shudder, that horror. It's like Netflix for horror people. So we just go and they know when to like drop three or four new movies like on Thursday. They're like, and this it's hit or miss, but the hits are good too. So they just have like a lot of collections. So we've just seen too much horror. This Ted Lasso Beth and I both need some comedy because I've just seen way too much horror. I just close my eyes and I've always been a horror fan, but I just close my eyes.
I did not know that about you. That's not something I knew, that you were a horror guy.
Oh my God. Yeah. Problematically so. Yeah. Like I can't, like, we can't stop too. And we're like, we'll dip into sci-fi. We like a good comedy. I like kind of dramatic tearjerker stuff. Beth is more like crime and detective. So we met on True Detective first season.
Oh yeah,
show.
That was the best one.
So good.
Best one.
It was too good that it almost didn't. I mean, the ending.
And the music
okay,
was good.
Yes.
The music, the visual, the way it was filmed, the story.
Everything brought you right into the bayou. You just felt so swampy. Just everything about it. Listening to it, everything.
Yeah. Yes, and just the interplay between those two and McConaughey's character, like, oh my gosh, man, it was so good.
I actually want to watch that again. You just reminded me of watching that again because I'm quite sure there are things, you always miss something.
I wanted it to unfold to a much larger like conspiracy, but I feel like the expectations were so low too because everyone was like Woody Harrelson and Matthew McConaughey, this is going to be laughable, and then you're like Woody Harrelson is like crushing it. What is going on here? Like.
Yeah, that was great. I want to see that again. They've done 3. Are we on 3 True Detectives seasons now?
I think so. Yeah. The last one wasn't bad. We didn't really like the second one, but I don't think we even got through the second one. But
the second one was panned pretty heavily, if I recall. Colin Farrell did that one, right?
I think so. Yeah, and Vince Vaughn. Yeah.
Yeah, poor Vince Vaughn. His career's kind of tanked a little bit.
Yeah, although I remember him from Swingers.
Yeah.
Way back. Remember like Swingers?
Yeah. Huh. Yeah, I watched what did I watch recently? Oh, so in the true crime genre that I love documentaries. This is a robbery about the Isabella Stewart Gardner.
I just started that.
Dude, I'm gonna watch that later tonight.
It is really great for a couple of reasons because I didn't actually know the whole story. I knew, the bullet points, but I didn't know the layers to the story. And it's great what, they follow the trail, right? But it's so very Boston, they have these people and they have reporters on that are just like, which I love everything about that. It
was in the 90s too, right?
It was it was St. Patty's Day, 1990.
Wow.
Cops, two men dressed as cops rolled up to the museum and said, "We have a report of a disturbance here." And that's when it all started.
Wow, I didn't even know that there was there was 2 cops. Like I remember hearing that it was like they don't know how they got them all out, but okay, wow. So then someone must have saw them, obviously.
Yeah, well, there were 2 guards there. There were 2 guards there that they tied up.
Wow.
Yeah, it's very interesting, and I actually watched it over the course of 2 nights. But of course, I fell asleep in between some of it, so there's big pieces missing. There's big pieces of the story.
Can I just confess that I started watching it last night and I fell asleep, which I didn't want to tell you because I was like, oh, maybe it was really good.
No, it is really good, but you've got to give yourself some time,
and maybe some coffee.
Yeah, that might be a like Sunday with coffee one, not 10 p.m. one. Like, yeah.
I mean, I definitely, that's how I've gotten through most everything throughout this last year of staying home is bits and pieces, like rewinding it back to the middle. And Paul's like, I saw this last night. I'm like, I didn't. I fell asleep. So I have to go back. It's like, I got to watch this again. I'm like, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So funny. Christina's like, I can't believe you watched it without me. And I was like, I didn't.
Right. You didn't miss anything.
Oh my God. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Well, I'm thrilled that two of you working together is a really cool combination. That's very cool.
Yeah. I'm super excited about this album. Like,
me too.
Yeah. People have only heard like a couple songs too. Like, it's all equally good.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. It was hard for us to decide which songs we wanted as singles because we like them all.
Very much so. Very much so.
Yeah.
So next, the plan is for the next release when?
It'll be in it'll be probably like end of May. I'm doing a single for my solo album, just a single release that's out in time for Mother's Day. So I'm going to focus on that. But then right after that, it'll be June, July, and then the release of the album. So,
well, the great thing is that now that, we've sort of loosened up the space limitations and the attendance limitations. I don't know if that's the right terminology, but now that we're going to be able to see each other outside when the weather gets warmer, there's going to be a lot of opportunities for the two of you to play together, which I think is really exciting.
Yes.
Can't wait.
That's going to be awesome.
Yeah. And you have a great, band configuration for some of these shows because you don't come with a lot of baggage.
Right.
Both literally and figuratively and spiritually.
That's right. That's right.
Well, I don't know if I can commit to that, but yeah.
That's so true.
Well, it was great to chat with you. I could just go on and riff on really silly jokes until you guys fall asleep listening to me talk to you. So I think it's great. I'm very excited about hearing what the next thing that you guys have up your sleeve. So that's really cool. And eventually we will see each other in person outside of these little boxes. And I just feel like we're gonna have I really do believe that we're going to have a renewed appreciation for the community that we have tried to sustain throughout this.
Yeah,
definitely.
Year-long pause that that has been forced upon us.
Yeah.
I feel like.
Yeah.
No. I feel like we talked about this, Anngelle, over the summer. Yeah. Like I don't know how it's going to happen, and I'm not one to organize it, but. We need to have a party. Some people can play if they want, but hey, everybody on the scene, let's come in and meet each other. Let's combine scenes that were so separate before, which or let's just try to supercharge with a new friendship on all the fracturedness, and just renaissance, just rebirth this shit.
No, I absolutely.
At a party though, there's got to be a date. Here's the date. Everyone just try to make it and meet someone from a different band. That would be awesome.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. I mean, we just have everybody show up at a park.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, really.
Yeah.
Just put your alcohol in a little koozie container.
Or if we can get something right, maybe we can work something out where we could have. We don't have to have alcohol, but if we could, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
well,
awesome.
I'm looking forward to seeing what places things that come to mind, like the beer gardens that have set up,
right? And
various, Harvard Square always had that thing, and I think it'll be safe this season to do outdoor stuff like that, like Mayfair and those sorts of things. So I'm looking forward to those things, and I love your idea of, tagging a social event invitation onto something like that.
The point would be us to get together and hang out. There could be some bands playing and it could be a show, but let's just hang and talk to each other.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Or everyone a listening. Someone doesn't even need to play. We could just put a few new albums on a stereo system and then just force people to look at each other and talk. Because I've noticed that about Boston. It's the scenes were very fractured. I remember back in the day, but if two people got together, they were best friends in 5 minutes. But from a distance, it's You know what I mean? But then you spend 5 minutes together and it's hugs. You know, like
which we will also be able to do again.
Please.
We will. High fives.
I feel bad too because I am and I was a hugger. So like
me too, right?
People weren't huggers before, and they're probably like, "This is fine. Let's not go back." But like I don't know what to do. Like I want to be careful because but I am a hugger. Like in here, I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know. I just miss kind of face-to-face stuff. Like even if it's just like, "Hey, what do you got going on? What'd you do? How's your dog?" Just even some of that empty conversation is just, it's just comforting, you know?
Yeah.
Well, the wild thing, it's so, you know, I it's still teaching at Berkeley, and I've now had students that like I've had them for almost a year and I've never met them in real life.
Isn't that incredible?
And the weird thing is that like I had this realization of like, I don't know how tall anybody is. and so the class was like, oh my God. And there was this one guy, he's like, I'm 6'4". And we're like, what? Cause you know, I only know him from here up. And then there was one girl, she's like, I'm only 4'9". And we're like, what? I mean, it was so mind blowing.
That's
so
funny.
yeah.
That's actually kind of a cool conversation to have with people because it kind of takes their guard down a little bit, you know?
Right. Yeah. So
speaking of that Pete Davidson is going to be playing Joey Ramone. Pete Davidson is 6'3". Joey Ramone is 6'6". He was 6'6".
Wow.
Yes. As someone who's
as Joey
6'6".
Ramone, that's going to be a stretch.
We'll see. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. I mean, we'll see. But how are there not more movies about him and about the Ramones? I don't know. There's that one so documentary, but Joey Ramone, he was 6'6".
Wow.
That is tall. I did not realize he was that tall.
Yeah. How tall are you, Paul?
Well, I only know specifically just because like we would, measure me because I grew so fast. I mean, I was like crazy fast. But so at the very end, as my dad would measure me on the door, like 6'5" and 5/8.
Nice.
Although I've probably shrunk a little bit as I've gotten older, but so basically 6'6".
Yeah.
Michael Jordan, Ramone.
I was always tall. I'm a tall.
Yes, you are tall.
Everybody in my family's tall, and I was.
You were tall too, Susan.
I always wear. I not lately, but I always would wear big shoes. People would look at me. Everybody had something to say about it. They're like, "You're tall, and look at those shoes. You got to wear." I'm like, I have no problem being tall. I have absolutely no problem with it at all. I would like to be taller as a barefoot person. You know, I'm probably, I don't know, 5'11", 5'10 and a half, 5'11", and I'm not afraid of it, Me
neither. I like it, actually.
I really do. I actually like being the tallest person, except for when I'm next to you, Paul Hansen.
That's awesome.
Well, it's so funny. Sorry. I just wrote our bio, and of course, like everything else about this project, I just wrote the most really irreverent, silly bio, and the way I said like Paul, the tall one, and then I was like, and then Susan, the other tall one.
Yes.
Because it's true, right? So
yeah, that's great.
Did you two get picked on for being tall when you were younger? I definitely had I had a solid amount of, all my best friends were super short. The shortest kid, we were like the clowns. But I definitely got some real short kind of Napoleon people mad at me. Did you get that?
I transferred schools halfway through 7th grade, and when I started at the new I guess it was junior high school then, I heard people saying that they thought I was a substitute teacher.
Oh my God.
I was a 7th grader, and I was tall. And I probably dressed a little differently than all the other kids because I was sort of, I wouldn't say I wasn't punk rock because I didn't know what punk rock was then, but I was, a little rock and roll for a 7th grader, and I had just left a Christian school. So there was a huge rebellious streak going on. So yeah, I probably looked different than a lot of the other kids, and I definitely presented different. I was always taller than everybody.
Yeah, for me, I had a lot of, I think it really was harder for me when I was in college because, wanting to, going out to bars with all of my friends who were all short.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and
right?
just being in like a really loud space and just feeling like I was in like a different stratosphere. The conversation was going on down here, and I'd be like, I'd be like, what?
Yeah.
What?
Right.
Guchin.
couldn't hear anything, and the kind of guys that would like little girls, smaller girls, were not the kind of guys who would have liked me. So I feel like Big Bird. I was like, I'm big and I'm tall and I'm here, and I think that was harder for me.
Did you feel like you had challenges dating that men didn't like it?
No, because luckily the men that I dated loved that I was tall. But I think I guess, in a bar scene, I always felt like I'm not petite. I'm never, ever going to, there's never going to be a moment when I'm going to
never been a pea on my size.
Take care of me. Like, I need to be sheltered. And I'm like a child girl. Like, I just was not, that was never my thing. So, but all my friends were like that. So.
I love that I love at the very, at the end of the interview, we're like, oh my God, we're all tall. like this is the thing. This is another show right here. The best was like playing sports, and I was twice everybody's size. And dads would come down and be like, I want to see his birth certificate.
Oh my God.
And meanwhile, I was like the youngest kid on it. So my mom made me a shirt with my birth certificate on it.
That's fantastic.
Just so
you were kidding.
No, she
You are not kidding?
I'm not kidding.
People thought you were a ringer, huh?
Football and basketball. Oh yeah. Yep. Football and basketball. They would want to see it. They would, I mean, I grew that fast. On the flip side, at the mall with my friends, I could get into R-rated movies.
Did you buy booze for everybody?
The booze. Yeah. I feel like I was in Ohio for college. That was, it was easy to get a fake ID back then too. You could pencil it yourself. But yeah, always tall people. Yes, this is great.
No, I always enjoyed it, and I never really cared the height of who I was dating. Never really bothered me if a guy was never bothered me if a guy was shorter than me. I never really thought about it, and I guess I never really dated anybody that was super short, but it wasn't for any, particular reason. But we've always kind of been like the same height for the most part.
Me too.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to let you guys go on with your Friday night, because I know that it's going to get crazy up in there.
Woo, gotta watch me some more art documentary and put myself to sleep.
Go watch some paintings get stolen.
Or Isabella Stewart? What do I go? Shudder, Isabella? Actually, oh my gosh, someone needs to get on the horror movie basically with that premise. Boom.
Shudder, Isabel Stewart.
Right, like how's there
horror movie in the museum?
Yeah, there has to be one. Like
a bunch of people get cut up.
With the sides of the painting are real sharp.
Yeah. Well, they did cut out the painting.
They did. See, and that's something I learned. I did not know that, and I don't know why. I never thought about it, but I guess, if I did, I would have just assumed that they took out the frames, but that wouldn't make any sense, because how do you hide the frame? How do you hide these big paintings in frames? They cut them out. It's amazing.
And how do they not surface all this time later? Someone doesn't even need to, or someone could just say, I feel like somebody could reveal it without even maybe I guess if you said something about it, you would be a person of interest. But how is just somebody not revealed something, or it could be in another country, so it's out of jurisdiction, or it's got it, that's crazy.
But here's the other part of that, and that's the best question, because there's a $10 million reward still to this day for information about those paintings. $10 million. So could it be that everybody that has knowledge about this is dead? Is it possible? I don't know.
Right. Or everyone who knows about it and has them, $10 million is, they might be super, that might not be a lot of money for them. Who knows? I mean, one of them was a Rembrandt too, right?
Yes.
Like that's crazy. I mean, I'm sure they were all super famous, but wow.
And there were weird things that they were going for too. Like there are, small paintings that disappeared, and
when they stole an eagle off the top of
they were trying to just this they had a name for it, and I forget what it was, but it was essentially something on the top of a flagpole or something.
Yeah.
And they must have run out of time because they found the screw pieces in like an ashtray or a vase or something. It was just it's just so very bizarre. That they were able to get away with it in the first place, that they were led into the museum, and that they spent like 80 minutes in there.
What?
So somehow, whomever these people were, disguised as police officers, whoever they were confident that the police weren't going to come. So what's that about? Like, I don't know, it's an inside job. And there's all that, there's all that discussion about, did the guards know? Were they involved? And then they talk about that. And I'm going to go watch it before I fall asleep.
Right.
You and me both.
1990 too. Like, I feel like 1990, it's kind of still like, especially when you watch a movie from 1990, it's still basically the 80s. In a way, like not that security.
Because everybody still looks like it's the 80s. And
right. Yeah, I believe it. Yeah. That drips over usually in a decade, like for 1 or 2 more years. It's really funny.
So funny.
All right. Well, it was great to see you.
Thank you so much for talking
Anngelle.
to us.
I will be keeping up on your happenings.
Yes.
We will do one of those outdoor things. You have that great the porch in Medford that's doing shows.
Oh, right. I haven't been to a show there.
I haven't, but they are having shows again. Some friends of mine went to a show there a couple of weeks ago, and they were like, "This is the first show I've been to in a year."
Is it like plexiglass where the band is behind?
Oh, really?
That's so weird, but
right.
Yeah, like bank tellers.
I know.
Right.
or Holland. It's
yeah. Well, everybody, let's do this again.
All right. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you. Anngelle. This was so fun.
It was great to see you. Take care. Have a great weekend.
You too.
You too.
Bye.
These days I'm held up on the couch, and you're stuck with reasonable doubt.